Welcome to episode 4 of Wednesday Wonders, where every Wednesday I play around with film photography related stuff, mainly from questions that you've got in the comments, things that you want me to try out and experiment with. Last Wednesday I was doing some development temperatures, and as always at the end of the video I ask if anyone wants me to play around with stuff in the darkroom. One was from Jay Henline that said, you could try printing with the Enlarger set at various apertures using different timings as well, of course, to see if there's any difference in the quality and character of the print. And I also got 2 requests for the same thing, which was from Miles44 and Kirk Gledhill, and they wanted to know about developer temperatures in the darkroom when you're making prints. So these are the lenses that I use for my Enlarger. For my 35mm negatives, I have a Schneider Kruznak 50mm, which has an aperture range of 2.8 to f16. I also have the same make lens for my medium format negatives, which is a 75mm and has an aperture range of f4 to f22. The other lens I have for 35mm negatives is a Nikon EL Nikkor 50mm, which has an aperture range of f4 to f16. So for this experiment, we want to see if there's any differences between the lens's widest aperture of f2.8 and its smallest aperture of f16. So let's see what happens. I have a negative here that I shot in London a couple of years ago. I'm first going to make a 5x7 print at 2.8 and then another at f16. I don't know if we'll see any differences, but let's crack on and we'll have a look. So I'm all set, ready to go. My easel's down. This is a 5x7 template. I'm going to be using Kentmere's VC Select, which is 5x7 paper, Lustre paper resin. The first print I'm going to do is of that building in Liverpool Street in London, and I'm going to project that at 2.8, f2.8, which is the widest aperture. And then after that I'm going to do an identical print again at f16. So let's get on with that now. So this is the negative projected on the baseboard. I only ever use really 2.8 to do some focusing, you know, so I can see nice and bright on the baseboard. And then I usually come a couple of stops about f5.6 or f8. And you can see it changing there. But we're going to do one print at the widest aperture 2.8 and then another one close right down to f16. So let's do the 2.8 first. Because this is so bright at 2.8, I've put a 2.5 grade filter inside. And I'm just going to put a very small test strip just across the Liverpool Street sign now for 1 second, and that's the minimum I can do on my timer. So hopefully, there you go, 1 second. Hopefully I'll get a decent exposure from that. Let's put it in the test developer. So this is the 2.8 aperture that I'm throwing in. I don't think we'll see any difference personally, but I don't know. Soon see, won't we? Right, 1 second. That's done. Let's develop that. In it goes. I'll leave it in there just for 1 minute. But what I'll do now is try and match this at f16, match the same contrast, and then I'll start on that one. So let's stop and fix this one. 16 seconds. So let's do that one at 16 seconds. So this is f16. Coming through, and the same again, just a minute. Okay, so I'll keep this going. I'll stop it, fix, get it washed, squeeze it off, and we'll have a look at them side by side. So I'm looking at these 2 prints side by side. I don't know how well it's being picked up on the camera. The Liverpool Street sign, the actual letters look like they've overbled slightly. They look a little tiny bit, sort of got like a strange kind of shadow going on behind them. And this one at f16 is nice and sharp. There's no kind of, I don't know what the word to describe it is, like a bleeding on the black. And if we come up here to the building, this is much sharper, where this is a lot softer. It surprised me. I thought I wouldn't see any difference at this size print, but definitely soft around. It's kind of here, it's kind of sharp, and here is kind of identical back here. But this area definitely looks softer than this, 100%. In the corners, in fact, the corner actually doesn't look too bad. That looks about identical sharpness to this one, and here as well. But just about here, in the centre of the lens, seems to be where the problem is. So the edges look all right. They look similar. In fact, they both look as sharp as each other around the edges. It's just around the centre that it looks soft compared to f16. That's interesting. Let's go and see if we can blow it up even bigger and see what we get. So now I've got two side by side. This was enlarged to 10 by 8 and I've only used half of a 5 by 7 paper, just going from the sign up to the top. I don't want to waste too much paper because I can see what's going on. So I've got this one at f16. We can see the Liverpool Street sign is nice and sharp, as it should be, and also, well, it's sharpness all round really. It's sharpness from the top to the bottom. When we look at the f2.8 on the Enlarger, Liverpool Street sign is now even more bled than the one at f16, and it's pretty much soft focus. Around here seems pretty sharp, but as we get towards the edge, we've lost sharpness, but not as much as the sign, or again in the middle, certainly a part of this building here. You can see that's a lot sharper than that. But if I go to the edges now, I've just slightly lost a bit of sharpness, not too much, just a little bit at the top compared to the f16. Let's enlarge even bigger and see what we get. So this was the 17-inch print. This is the test strip at the top, and yeah, it's not badly out of focus, just very slightly soft, but the f16 is relatively sharp at the top of the building. That's right at the edge of the print at the top. And if we just come down slightly towards the bottom of the print, I hope you can see, but very soft focus now on the f2.8, and f16 is relatively sharp. So this is coming towards the middle or the centre of the print. Let's have a look at the logo, or the street. Let's have a look at the street sign, which we know is in the middle of the print. So again, the sign is, yeah, it's just still a little bit sort of kind of bled looking, you know, where this is quite sharp. This is f16, that's f2.8, and even inside the City of London logo, ain't too bad actually, but it is slightly softer than f16. If we come down in between the joins of the brickwork, this, you can see it here in the joins, this is much softer than this edge as well, and again here. So I'm playing around quite a lot with that one lens, which is the Schneider lens. So I'm going to change it over. I'm going to put the Nikon lens in. You know, is it the lens that's giving me a problem? So if I put the Nikon lens on my larger, and we'll just do one more test at the smaller 5 by 7 prints, and see what that gives us. So these are two 5 by 7s I've just made with the Nikon lens, and again, let's have a look at the middle. Still a little bit over, you know, bled on the sign there, but not blurry, but the blacks have really soaked into it, whereas this one's okay. Slightly less time on this one. I've calculated, you can see the EC2 sign, which is a postcode for area, is a little bit fainter than this one, but you know, hey ho, it don't matter. Very sharp very sharp indeed on the around the building areas, all over it really, all around it from edge to edge. It's all sharp. This one here at f16, but this one just a little bit soft in this area. As we come up to the edges, not so soft. So I'm getting the same similar results as I did with the Schneider lens as well. And if I look at both the lenses side by side at f16, the one on the left is the first one I did, the Schneider lens. Slightly darker granted, but we're looking at sharpness. To me, they both look equally as sharp. I can't say that one lens is better than the other, to be honest with you, at least at this size paper, at this size enlargement. Right, so before I close off with my thoughts, I'm going to test out that different temperatures of developer that Kirk Gledhill and Miles44 asked. So this is the normal developer that I've been working with in the darkroom, and it's warm temperature, and it's a room temperature in here, sorry, so that hasn't really changed much at all. That's the microwave in the background. I'm just heating up some developer. This one, developer here, has been in the freezer for some time, so I'm just going to throw that in here. It's quite cold. And this is Fotospeed PD5 developer, and this is quite warm. So I've got, in fact, you can see a steam coming off of that. Whoa! Right, so I'm just going to take the same negative and just do 3 strips. Okay, so that's normal temperature. This is cold. It's been in the freezer for about 10 minutes, so that is pretty cold. And this is hot temperature. So if I just do a quick measure on that, that's dropping down to kind of like below 10 degrees. Whoa, it's just over 35 degrees, so that's quite warm. And the other temperature is what I've been working with. So let's do a quick print, and then I'll throw each of them in there one by one, and then we'll see how quickly they take to come out. Okay, so 3 equal strips. Hopefully I can get them agitating at the same time. There you go. So the warm temperatures come through straight away. No messing about there. The cold one's not even come through yet, which is in the middle, and the one on my left, which is normal temperature, that's just about starting to come through. But that hot temperature's gone straight through. The cold one is just now starting to come through. We've got a timer going on the screen as well. So I'd say the hot developer over on the far right, that's finished. My normal developer, that's pretty much finished. We were just waiting for that cold one to come through. But I'll be more interested to see what they're like when they're stopped, fixed and dried, or washed and dried. If there's any extra grain on the hot one, like you'd sort of notice in film, you know. So they all started to come through the middle one. Look at that, that's around about 10 degrees in the middle, and that's just started to come through now, and that's proper cold. It's been in the freezer a while. So this is interesting. I don't think I've ever done this before. I don't think I'm ever likely to do it again either. Okay, let's get these stopped and fixed. That's the hot temperature developer. The paper's gone a kind of, it's got like toned itself to a yellow. You can see the sign in the difference between the cold and the hot. That's the cold one, that's the hot one. It's got this yellow tinge around the border as well. That's strange. I would never thought that would have happened. I might have to test that again. Weird. Yeah, can you see the blacks there? And there compared to the cold developer, and obviously the hot developer has given it this kind of strange tone. I want to do another print in that hot developer. I'm interested to see what happens again. You can see the steam coming out of this developer. I've just put it in the microwave. Don't want to blow my thermometer up, but this time it's much hotter than it was before. It's pushing nearly 50 degrees. So that'll be a laugh. See what happens there. Okay, so in goes another piece of paper into the super hot developer. I'm just interested to see. Look how quick it comes through. I'm just interested to see if I get that yellow tinge again. That was strange. I never thought I'd get that. So I'm going to leave it in there for a couple of minutes and see what happens. I'll show you after. Yeah, so this time the temperature was even hotter, and I don't know if the blacks are even blacker, but I'm not interested in that. I was just interested to see what was going on with the edge of the paper. You can see the difference in colour. Interesting, isn't it? So that was all fun and games. I've got an amount of paper stuff behind me. Peter Elgar will be having a fit seeing all that amount of wasted paper. Sorry, Pete. I had to make the video now, mate. So that was a fun experiment. I found out that at 2.8, my Enlarger lens, that particular one I'm using, is a bit softer around the middle than it is around the edges. And at f16 it was sharp all over, but that did surprise me that it was softer in the middle and not so soft around the edges. I thought if anything it would have been hitting the edges more at 2.8 than in the middle. And I changed lenses. I went to the Nikon lens as well, and that was soft in the middle too. And I've played around with this before, but not as in depth as this. So that's a good lesson for me learned. Hopefully you guys as well stuck it out on the YouTube now for you to see. And do your own test with your lenses. You might get different results with your enlargers and your lenses and your papers as I did here. But for me, that's what I got. And then we're on to the developers. That was interesting, getting that funny stain tone out of the hot developer, which you saw come through very quickly, and it was also darker than the rest of the test that I was doing in a normal developer and the cold developer. The cold developer came through very slowly, but the hot developer, that was strange. Let us know in the comments if you know why that's happened, why my paper has gone slightly yellow with the hot developer. Weird. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the Wednesday Wonder. If you've got anything else you want me to play around with film photography, developing, or in the darkroom, let us know in the comments and I'll see what I can do for next week's episode. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.